Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Aliens and Angels live podcast. Wow, we finally got some beautiful weather here in sunny Alberta, Canada. Hope you're all having a fine day too. I am hoping the neighbors' lawnmowers and weed whackers are not going to get picked up by my microphone. But if the noises do get picked up, I apologize in advance. It's just that time of year. So today I want to share with you various ways that I initiate telepathic contact with entities and the various ways that I heal myself and others. And this is a live workshop, so please do bring your questions, your comments, your notebooks and your pencils or whatever you use to take down your notes. And for those of you who are new to my channel, late last year I published my first book about my transdimensional ET contact called Transdimensional Meet the New Neighbors. The links are below in the description, or you can use the Q code that is on screen to find out more. If you're interested, there are detailed lessons on how I was taught telepathy within this book. This workshop is free. Please share it on social media so others can benefit and heal too. All of the links are featured below. And I want to thank you in advance for liking, commenting, subscribing, and please do share my content with your friends. And I'm very happy to announce that I'm now able to take channel memberships on YouTube so you can help to support my work and also take advantage of some of my perks. So another Sunday. Boy, time sure does fly. I can't believe how fast summer's approaching. I'm glad. I like the summers a lot. And it's very cold here in the wintertime for about 6 months out of the year. So it's just so great once it warms up in the sun. Well, we have the sun in the wintertime too, but it's really cold out there. So, before I get on with talking about telepathy and healing, I want to give a few minutes for people to come into the live chat. And I'm going to put a banner on. There we go. And I want to talk about some shows I have recently been watching on YouTube. And I would love to get your thoughts and your comments on this. Do you think that the ET slash UFO, I guess, slash UAP phenomenon is all parts of one thing? Or do you think there might be a bunch of things all happening at the same time? And I'll give you some examples. There are people who have met with ETs that are human in appearance and claim that they are working with the Greys. And although from two different points in time and space, they're working together to help fix the timeline right now in our reality. And so in this scenario, the beings that we are discovering are from the future. They are humans and they are also gray humanoids, although the gray humanoids from this classification also claim to be humans, us down the road many thousands of years. So there's that. And then I guess that's scenario number one. Scenario number two is that cryptid terrestrials have always been here, which means what we identify as extraterrestrials and most commonly the Greys, they have been here for thousands of years coexisting with us. And you could sort of throw into this whole um, way of looking at things, you could throw in also cryptids like Sasquatch and the Loch Ness monster and Mothman and other anomalies like that. And so they believe, or I should say, the people that subscribe to this believe that these beings exist in hidden habitats, either subterranean, deep beneath the ocean surface, or perhaps even within mountain ranges. And then, of course, another slant to that is they are or they are not working with humans, often military. So there's that one. Yeah, Denise says, hi, Denise. She says, a bunch of things working at the same time. Yeah, maybe. Then there's people like me who have transdimensional experiences. And along with me would be a portion of the autistic community and other people who find themselves being what we would call telepathic. And we have contact with other beings, but it's not in the three-dimensional here and now. It happens often while we're asleep, or we go to a place and meet up with other beings, other humans, other telepathic humans. And that seems to be more of a, I don't know, I'm just going to call it spiritual approach. So there's that happening as well. And then, of course, I guess the fourth scenario is that there are extraterrestrials from other planets that find their way, however, they get here to planet Earth for various different reasons and agendas. So there's that as well. And there's probably even other theories that I haven't taken into account. Perhaps Chris Bledsoe with the orbs, he sees them as being spiritual beings. But then you could see overlap with the transdimensional community. Just curious to see what you think. So leave me a comment in the below this video, whether you're watching listening to an audio podcast or watching a replay, or whether you're here and you're live now. Um, Hi, Tennessee. Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot says it is impossible for me to decide to have coffee out of the random to find you talking live. Hey, Denise. Yeah, it is very interesting. So Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot joined us on this channel. Oh, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like I would say probably more than 6 months ago. And every time he's out working, chopping wood and doing chores and doing things, and then he just goes, "Oh, to go in the house and have a coffee." And he goes in the house and he has a coffee, and it turns out I'm doing a live at that very moment. So yeah, that is very interesting. And but I really appreciate you being here. So whatever the reason that you're here, I appreciate you very much. So yeah. So today I want to talk a bit about how I do telepathy. Now, when I'm aboard the big ship, I was actually given structured lessons on how to be telepathic. And oh, Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot says amazing and grateful. Well, I'm grateful for you too, my friend. Um, And so like there's different kinds of telepathy too. There are people who talk about having telepathy, and whether it's an ET or another human being, they hear a voice in their head that speaks the same language they speak, and it's definitely in words. And I do think that kind of telepathy exists. There's also the kind of telepathy that I was taught aboard the big ship. And that, rather than being words, was actually a combination of phenomena. So I would see, like in my mind's eye, in my imagination, like short videos that would convey a thought, instruction, or process. But along with that, I would also feel emotion. I would feel body sensations. I would often see symbols as an overlay, so I can see, with my physical eyes what's in my environment, but then I would see these overlays that are over top as well. And I learned to read the combination of these different processes as a language, as a method of communication. And that makes sense because I was aboard the big ship where there were thousands and thousands of different uh, beings from different worlds, dimensions, realities. And of course, they're not all going to speak English. And so we deviate very much from the kind of telepathy that's often talked about here on Earth, where we actually understand a language, or sometimes the entity is speaking a language that we don't know, but it gets somehow translated in our heads into our language. I just want to say a quick hi to Not Visible. Not Visible says, I think older races from the center of galaxy are far more developed. Well, I would agree with you because they've been around eons, beyond eons, millions, billions of years longer than us. So they've had certainly more time to evolve and become what we would consider quite advanced. I actually think that we as humans were very advanced. I've been told by my ET friends that Earth has been repopulated with humans 5 times. They call it the reseeding. And each time when humans were repopulated onto Earth, they were very advanced, nothing like what we're taught in modern history. And if you watch some of the videos that are available on Tartaria and our hidden past, you'll see, yeah, it makes a lot of sense that somebody is trying to make us think that this is all we've ever been, but this is not all we've ever been. In fact, with the introduction of pharmaceuticals and pesticides and all kinds of nefarious technologies, I think we might be at the worst we have been in a very, very long time. Kind of sad, but you could make a case for that. So that's sort of the two different kinds of telepathy. And when I'm aboard the big ship, I use um, like, well, I started off by using my tablet, but then I used what look like headphones, but they go around the back of my head and they have two little nubs that rest on my temples with nothing covering the front. Very user-friendly little interface. What that did is boosted my connection to the big ship. So the big ship is alive, it's intelligent, it's conscious, and it holds all the information I could ever want or need, everything from classroom-like instructions to like my telepathy lessons to anything I want to know is available through that headset. Now, if I had stayed on longer, I would have eventually developed the skill of communicating directly through um, telepathy with the big ship. And you could think about it a little bit being like today, how we have the cloud and everything gets uploaded to the cloud and then it's there, whether we're on our phone or on our computer, and we can pull it. Similar to that, except it's all done with our own biological technologies that we're all born with. We all have it, which is what makes telepathy possible. So when I was aboard the big ship, my lessons were, I would say, I sort of classified them into 4 different levels. But, depending on how you want to slice and dice it, you could look at it different ways. But originally, what I did is I would just lay down, put on my headgear, and then just let the ship know that I was ready for my lesson. It always knew where I had left off, what I needed to work more at, and was always ready to go. And so each lesson was divided into 2 lessons. So the first part is the big ship would produce an image. So for me in the beginning, it was something very simple, like a triangle or a circle or a square. And my job was to hold that image in my imagination for 3 seconds, and then longer for 6 seconds, and then longer for 9 seconds. And once I could do that without having any other thoughts coming into my mind or any feelings about what I was seeing, and just let it be exactly what it was, plain and simple, then I would move on to more complex shapes. So instead of a triangle, it was a pyramid. Instead of a circle, it was a sphere, and so on and so on and so on as I developed my skill. And they do actually have technology that I could have had implanted that would have made me just be able to do it without having to learn anything. But I wanted to learn how to do it because I felt seriously we could be using this here on Earth amongst us humans. So I wanted to actually learn how to do it. And it took some time, like a number of, well, months their time, but probably weeks my time because of the time differential. So those of you who haven't read my book yet, I highly recommend you pick it up. It's available on Amazon worldwide. The links to the United States and Canada Amazons for my book are in the description below. But you can also click the um, Q code on the corner, and basically Amazon's everywhere. So I really highly recommend, because it's so much more than just my ET adventures. It's basically my whole life, why I'm here, what my job is, how I figured things out, my ET experiences, what I learned, and then all my take homes from it. So I think there's a wealth of information there for you. Um, so getting back to telepathy aboard the big ship. So once I could hold these basic symbols in my mind's eye without any other thoughts or feelings or language or anything, then the second half of the lesson was I had to learn how to keep that thought to myself and not share it. So this is called shielding, and it's really important. Think of it as being like boundaries. We have boundaries on things we want to share and things we don't want to share. Sometimes we want to share things we know or have experience with maybe just one person, maybe nobody, maybe a couple of our closest friends, or it might be something we want to broadcast to everybody. But there's a time and a place for everything, and definitely that applies aboard the big ship. So, learning to keep it to myself was the hardest. Then there was being able to broadcast to everybody. And so what happened is the AI, or the consciousness of the big ship, depending on how you want to look at it, would project to me the image of myself being with several other beings within a room, or a small crowd in a room. And it feels absolutely real, even though I'm aware that I'm, laying on my bed with my eyes closed or sitting in a comfortable position with my legs crossed, like a meditative style. And I know I'm not there, that it's artificially created. It gets artificially created for me so that I can practice the broadcast and receiving of the telepathy I was learning. So I would have the experience of being in a room, and every time I basically blasted my telepathic message, everybody in the room who picked up on it would just raise a hand and smile. So I could see who I was reaching and who I wasn't reaching. So in the beginning, it was to everybody or trying to keep it to myself. And it was really, really difficult. It was not that difficult to blast everybody out of their seats. I had no problem with that. I'm a very loud um, communicator. The hard part was for me learning how to dial that down and keep it private in myself. And then eventually I learned how to broadcast to everybody, or to just broadcast to a couple people, or to keep it to myself. And so that was the fine tuning. It took me months of practice every single day to get it right. And but once I got it, it was very, very exciting. Let's see, Not Visible says, I have heard the universe has a consciousness. Maybe you perceive it as a big ship. I think of Ed Casey. Well, I don't look at it that way, but you know what? You could look at it that way because there are so many ways to slice and dice all of this. So I think everybody aboard the big ship is aware of universal consciousness. I'm aware of universal consciousness, and we're all aware that we're part of it. So, in one way or another, you might be quite right. So I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying that I just perceived it as being a finite place, even though it might not have been. That's just, those of us who have these amazing experiences, we're communicating without the concepts. We're not given the concepts to talk about this stuff. Then we're not given language to freely talk about this stuff. So we kind of fumble through our experiences, filtering it through our own perceptual arena the best way we can to try to make sense of it to ourselves and to be able to share it with others. So I think there's no right way or wrong way of doing that. Um, Not Visible says, thanks, you are great. Well, thank you. That's very kind of you. Um, I'm just doing my best to try to be open and to, share this information with all of you to the best of my ability so that you can have better lives, just like it's given me a better life as well. So that is how I learned telepathy. Every day, working on it, making lots of mistakes, correcting it. Now, bringing that to an earth context, I think that is why meditation is so important. I know everybody's tired of hearing you got to meditate, you got to meditate. A lot of people have challenges slowing down the thought processes, and it takes work. And I don't know what to say about that. I'm not going to lie. It's been a lot of work for me, but it's been really worth it. So it's about quietening down the mind so that we're not generating thoughts that are coming from us. Instead, we're open to receiving information into us. And it's a complete reversal of the whole polarity of consciousness. And once we're able to do that, it's much easier to practice telepathy. So you can get these decks of cards. I've seen them available online that have basic symbols on them. One has a star, another has a circle, another has some wavy lines, another one has a square, or they might be cubes, depending. And you try to guess what they're going to be before you flip it over. But you can also use them to test another person. So you can look at a card and imagine what's on that card, and the audience, someone from the audience, can accurately pick up within their mind's eye what that symbol is. So there is that way of learning telepathy. Now, because we do not collectively have access to the big ship, at least at this point, I can't for sure put an image into your mind, but I can imagine a series of shapes, and I'm going to do that today. And I want you guys to see if you're able to pick up on on one of those shapes. Let's just go back to Not Visible says, so what benefits are able to help others with your knowledge? Oh, that's a lot. There's a lot of benefits. Um, for one benefit, and I go back to, I recommend my book because that's the only way that you're going to get in a short period of time all the information that's available from me. But I think that the one benefit is to give you another perspective, especially when it comes to spirituality, why we're here, what's important, and another option for seeing the ET presence. And I think that is good because anything that expands the mind Once the mind is expanded, it doesn't go back. It doesn't sort of shrink again unless you have some horrible disease that I'm not thinking of right now. um, it never goes back. And so it's important, I think, for us to keep our thinking flexible. So I'll give you an example of what I mean by that is a lot of people have belief systems. They believe this, they believe that, they believe the next thing. But then when they get new information, they have a very difficult time shifting gears or accepting that new information or seeing how that new information actually changes what their belief system could be. And so, what I recommend is people trade in their belief systems for working theories. When we have a working theory, we can take in new information and then we can alter our working theory as needed so that we can continue to progress and grow as individuals and as a collective here on Earth. Ultimately, everything I say and do is to try to give more options to my audience, options that perhaps they hadn't thought of on their own, or to reinforce options they clearly already see. It's all for the betterment of humanity, and it's all for the betterment of the individuals as well. And that's sort of what my purpose is. So, getting back to telepathy, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to focus on a shape in my mind's eye. And I know some of you are listening to this at different time zones. Some of you are listening to this different geographical locations. Some of you are listening to this 2 weeks later on an audio podcast. It doesn't matter. There's actually no time and space. That's an illusion that we've created for ourselves. So I'm going to imagine a shape and you see if you can pick it up. And if you can't, that's not a problem. It's not that kind of a test. It's just to see if anybody out there actually has the ability to communicate with me by receiving a shape that I'm projecting telepathically. And so if you are seeing it, I'm going to give away the answers. Um, I'm going to away the answers. I'm going to actually do 4 different shapes. And if any of you picked up on them before I give you the answers, this is hilarious. So, not visible says triangle. That was going to be my first shape. So, you got it before I even projected it when I just thought of it, which is amazing. Well, I would say you've got some mad skills going on for yourself there, not visible. So now I have to find a different one. So, okay, so are you ready? I'm going to transmit now. Okay, so now I'm going to give you the answer. And Denise, you got it. Yeah, it was a circle. Uh, and don't worry about your spelling, guys. Not a problem. So Denise got a circle, and Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot says circle permit, me stop sign. Well, it's the same, actually the same thing. I actually imagined a circle that was growing bigger and then small and then growing bigger. So, all of those I think qualify. So that's very good. See, we're already doing it. That's amazing. Okay, so now I'm going to imagine something different again. And we'll see. I'm drawing it out, number 2. And now I'm going to project. Okay, there, I'm done. So, did anybody pick up on it? Don't worry if you can't. This is not that kind of a test. It's just kind of, I want to show you how easy it actually can be. Uh, this is interesting. So, Not Visible said that they saw lines. Denise said that she saw a rectangle. And Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot said square per mat may cross. So what it was, I don't know if you can see this. There we go. It was two lines that were up and down, up and down, up and down, like waves. Now you could say that that formed a rectangle, you could say that formed lines, and you could say that it was formed a square mat. But you were close. No cigar, but you were very, very close. And I think that is really interesting. Okay, so now I'm going to come up with another square. Sorry, did I say square? It's not a square. I don't know why I called it that. Okay, let's just delete that one. I better come up with a new one because I sort of gave it away. Okay, so let's try another one. Okay, so there's the symbol for number 3. Now I'm going to project. Okay, I've stopped projecting. This particular symbol, I did a few different variations of it, and we'll see if anybody. Tennessee, Kentucky, Bigfoot says Matt, star, me, diamond. Okay, this is funny. This is funny. You're going to get a kick out of this, Tennessee. Okay, so the symbol that I originally put down and then decided not to use because I used the word square and I didn't want to be giving it away, it actually was a diamond. Very interesting. You picked up on that, even though I didn't keep it and I didn't actually consciously project it. The actual image that I settled on was a star. So you got that one right. Not Visible said it was a pentagon. Now, isn't that interesting? That is interesting because I actually did a 5-pointed star, which is close, but I would not call that a pentagon. So that's the 4th image. Do you guys want to try one more, just out of curiosity? I'm actually flabbergasted you guys are getting this so easily. So what I would recommend you do, seriously, is find somebody that you trust and practice with them. Doesn't You don't have to have long hours and hours of practice. You could just use a few minutes. You can just take a few minutes in your day and practice and see if they are able to receive you and whether you're able to receive them. And again, time and distance doesn't matter. So at the end, I'll recap the shapes. And so those of you who are listening later on audio or a replay, you can see if you were able to get any of those shapes in the order that I projected them. So Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot said sure, and Not Visible said yes. Okay, so let's do one more. Let's see, one more shape. Okay, so I've got it written down on my piece of paper. I'm now going to transmit it. Okay. So I'm done transmitting it. And so far we have not visible says it's a cross. Nope, it's not a cross. Denise says it's an oval. Nope, not an oval. What about you, Tennessee, Kentucky, Bigfoot? Did you receive anything? Like to give you a chance before I show everybody what I drew. Rectangle. Yeah, absolutely correct. It was a rectangle. So I'll just show you guys, for those of you who are watching the video. Number 1 was a circle. Number 2 was wavy lines. Number 3 was originally a rhombus, which is a diamond, but I changed it to a star. And then number 4 was a rectangle. So there you have it. There's the proof is in the pudding. Nobody really. Well, hi, Van Darkholm's here. Happy to make the show. Happy to see you. Really recommend that after the show you go back and watch the beginning so you can take part in the telepathy challenge. I thought that was really interesting. So again, you're not supposed to do this as though you're working out for the Olympics. This is something that if you keep it light, it's much easier to become proficient at it. Excuse me. Let's see. Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot says Matt is our medium. Cool. So, yeah, it's not something you're supposed to stress over or struggle with, and nobody gets 100% correct. So it's really important. If you get a couple correct and then you get a couple wrong, that is amazing. It's 50%. If you did 4 symbols and you got 2 right and 2 wrong, that's 50%. That's way over a statistical meaningful amount. And with continued practice, you get better and better at it. And this is only one step away from remote viewing. So if you can do this, you can remote view. And again, I highly recommend that you find somebody that you can practice with. Denise says, when you're thinking of someone and they call, is that a kind of telepathy? Absolutely. Absolutely. And that gets into the second part of the show where I want to talk about healing, because I send telepathic healing to my grandchildren all the time, and it always works. And they always know when they've had a message from me. And it is amazing. And it is so easy to do. With telepathy, as I've been talking about it so far, it's more or less a non-emotional thing. We're looking for a shape, a design, a symbol. Perhaps we're doing a very simple remote viewing of something, but it doesn't really have emotion. When you add emotion, you're supercharging the communication and it takes on a new form. So before I get into that, let's just see. Not Visible says, I used to do colors with a close friend. Yes, it's another way of doing it. Absolutely. Now, before we continue, I'm going to, for those of you who are not familiar with my books, actually I have 2 books out. I'm going to play a very brief ad for them. It's not really an ad, it's a promotion. And then we'll come back and we'll get into the healing. Learn the stunning details about ET diversity and culture, along with their advanced ways of living and expressing spirituality, which is in no way like anything imagined here on Earth. Transdimensional, Meet the New Neighbors, introduces you to many different ET beings, the healing pods, the interior of the big ship, my orientation process, cultural events, and off-world mating practices. In my contact experience, I learned a great deal about the big ship, intergalactic and transdimensional travel, intergalactic planetary research, and the various options for resettlement. Once I published my first book, I felt the need to create a second book called Transdimensional 2, Meet the Gray's Picture Book, I worked with AI to develop many images of beings that we have come to know of as the Greys. These beings come from many places, realms, dimensions, and timelines, and although they are of the same species as other humanoids, they are from many different family lines and races. What qualifies them as Greys is that their skin does not contain the pigment necessary to reflect light in our visible range of the color spectrum, so to us, they all appear to be various shades of gray. Beyond this physical attribute, there is much diversity in their origins, cultures, purposes, and physiological details. My goal is to get you used to the looks of beings which are different than humans in order to reduce your fear and increase your familiarity so you will remain more rational and grounded once the ET presence escalates beyond debate. Enjoy these images and notice the things we have in common so you will see that although they are different from us in appearance, we are essentially many family lines within one species. Paperback and Kindle versions of both books are now available on Amazon worldwide. Search the Amazon and Kindle bookstores and pick up your copies today. And we're back. So, while we were on the break, Denise and Not Visible and Van Darkholm were talking about how they've been practicing telepathy using colors. And Van Darkholm says, I started using a blindfold and colored papers to practice. It's cool when you get it right. Absolutely. So now I want to jump over to healing. Healing is something we are all capable of doing. And of course, if you believe in it, it makes it even stronger. So working with healing children is a wonderful way to start because they are so perceptive. It's really, really quite amazing. So, what I do is to keep my focus. I generally hold my hands out like this. Now, for those of you who've watched some of my recent podcasts on the divine feminine, the left hand receives energy. That's the feminine side of our body. Excuse me. And our right hand projects energy out, and that's the male side of our body. So our right hand's connected to the left hemisphere of the brain, and our left hand or left side of our body is connected to the right side of our brain. And we need to have both working in harmony for things to work well for us. Oh, it's kind of cute. In the live chat, Denise and Not Visible just guessed some colors and they got it right. So now, by now, you guys are realizing that being psychic is a lot easier, really, than what we think it is, and that we all have this ability. So I'm hoping for those of you who are listening on a replay, please leave me a comment. Let me know if you tried any of this, including my projections, which are incongruent with where you are and the time of day and the day of the month that you are, but it doesn't matter. This stuff travels no matter where. So when it came to healing, I didn't really think of myself as a healer. And there are always people on Facebook who say, my mom's really sick. Can you guys say a prayer for her? Or I'm not feeling well, or I'm in the hospital. Can you guys send me some healing energy? And I'm always compelled to stop. And I hold my phone and then I place my hand about a good 6 inches, 8 inches from my phone face, which has the little icon of the person who needs the help and their little message. And I just project healing, love, peace, all those kind of good, warm feelings into my hand and through the phone to reach the other person. So I don't know if it was me or the combination of me with other people, but I always ended up getting, another posting, usually the next day or in the next couple of days, saying, thank you, everybody, for your prayers and your best wishes. My mom's doing a lot better now. And I thought, wow, why don't I start doing that for people in my family? So then I have grandchildren who get sick way too often. And I'm not going to go down the rabbit holes of why that might be. Just they get very, very sick with very little notice, high fevers, and all they can do is sleep. They can't eat, they can't keep anything down. They're really, really suffering. So I decided that every time that they were sick, I was going to take time out of my day and give them healing. And if I would wake up in the middle of the night, I would give them another healing then as well. And all I would do is the same as if I was going to be meditating. I would just lay down in a comfortable position or sit in a comfortable position. And then I would relax and pay attention to my breathing. And as my breathing became more relaxed, which generally means that your in breath is slightly shorter than your out breath. So you want to make your out breaths last a little bit longer. And pretty soon my body would go into this very deeply relaxed state. And then I would put my right hand, which is my projecting hand, over my heart. And then I would connect my heart's energy field with the energy field of the grandchild who is sick. And I would, in my imagination, overlap their heart toroidal field with my heart toroidal field. And when that happened, I'm able to then send all this healing energy to them to strengthen their immune system, help them to feel peaceful and sleepy and comforted, and for them to know that I was there, and that if they want to, they can even imagine me holding them like a baby, caressing them and telling them that they're okay, everything is okay, that this is temporary and they're going to be much better very soon. So I started doing that for them when they were sick. And every single time by the next day, I'd be talking to my daughter on the phone and she'd say, "Wow, I don't know what you did, Mom, but boy, they sure felt better fast." And one of my granddaughters would then tell my daughter that they want to phone me. This is before my daughter would phone me, because they would miss me and they wanted to talk to me because they felt close to me. Denise says, like I always say, the mind is very powerful. Indeed, it is. So that's sort of how I started doing healing. So I don't like do official healings where people pay me money and I give them a healing. I just give healings to anybody who wants a healing at any time. And I just got into the habit of doing that. So, but through my grandchildren, I realized that it's way more than just what I'm doing in my imagination. So it involves elements of astral projection, elements of remote viewing, elements of telepathy, elements of healing. And I'm actually able to send that healing energy out where I can do some good, because they are also in Canada, but they live in a different province than me. It's I have to pretty much take an airplane if I don't have access to a vehicle, and it takes a couple of days by car to get there. So this is a way that I can help them in a meaningful way, let them feel loved and nurtured without necessarily being there physically. And the more practice, the better it gets. And every single time without fail, I get a call the next day saying, "Wow, I don't know what you did, but they sure are feeling better and they're back at school and they're keeping food down, and the only thing they have is they really miss me and they want to talk to me." And so they tell me how much they love me, and it's wonderful. I just love it so, so much. So I've also done healings on my cats. When cats are not very good at telling me when they don't feel good, but if they're unusually quiet and I feel their little heads are kind of more warm than usual, sometimes something's up for them, and I will give them healing as well. So we can give healing to our pets, we can give healing to our loved ones, we can give healing to perfect strangers who might be on social media. We can give healing to anybody at any time. And I've been told by my higher self that when we send out a healing to somebody or something else, we're actually healing ourselves. So sometimes when we're not feeling good, whether we're feeling depressed or anxious or down, or whether we've actually got a bit of a bug and or we're all congested or can't keep food down, that might be a really good time to try sending a healing to someone else and see how that works for the self. I have tried healing myself, um, and I've had mixed results, to be honest with you. But when I said healing to others, I always get the sense that I've also received a healing for myself. So the truth is, I don't think there's any big mystery or magical thing about healing. I think number one is our intention. Is our intention to do good? Is our intention to be loving, kind, generous? If our intention is in the right place, we have the right energetic frequency for doing so. So that's, I think, probably number one is the intention. Number two is just trying, just doing it. And even if we don't do it that well, it's surprisingly how soon we start to come up with other ideas on how to do it better. And yes, as Denise says here, and prayers work. I actually think prayers are the same thing. You know, a lot of people who don't believe in telepathy and don't believe in energy healing, they're firm believers in prayer and they pray and they get results. So I think prayer is another form of transdimensional communication. And so if prayer can work, why can't all these other things work as well? Whatever makes your vibration stronger. So if there's me and say one of my granddaughters, that's two beings being involved. But if I include Christ Jesus, or if I include Holy Spirit, now it's three entities that are coming together to form the spiritual and physical healing. And I think that's actually stronger. So if you could include your spiritual um, your spiritual contacts along with yourself and the person that you want to heal, I think that's ideal. And you know, we all know the number three is pretty powerful. And so that's basically it for healing. If any of you want to share a comment about your healing journey or experiences, please feel free to do so now. Um, Not Visible says, do you believe in a Jesus? You know, I like the way you worded that. I believe there's something to Jesus for sure, but I'm not 100% if Jesus is as delivered to us through churches, one religion over another religion or another religion. Ultimately, I think that Jesus had an adventure here on earth and gave us incredible amount of wisdom that we can cash in on to make our journeys better for sure. Um, Son of God, I don't know. Perhaps even an ET human hybrid. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm saying I don't know. I really don't know. And I've been to a lot of churches, guys, and I've read the Bible 3.5 times, cover to cover, well, cover to cover, cover to cover, cover to cover, and then halfway through and gave up. And you know, um, uh, as far as Jesus, you know, I think that a lot of what Jesus says you could take different ways. If Jesus says, I am the only way, maybe what he's meaning is, if he said that even, is that um, his way works. And if you try it, you might have a better life. Like, I think the Bible's a suggested guide for living. but I don't think it's been pristinely kept. I think it's been tampered with a lot, to be honest. I'm just being honest here. Hope you're not all pissed off at me for being honest, but I got to be honest. So we know that the early Christian church changed a lot of things, did a lot of horrible things. A lot of horrible things have been done in the name of religion, and I mean, that's another podcast. So I don't know what to say, but I think that Jesus was a real thing. I just don't know if the story's been preserved accurately down throughout all time. So you know what? I suggest to people, if they want to know if Jesus is a real thing or not, why not pray yourselves? Why not contact Jesus or the energy or the spirit or whatever through Holy Spirit? Contact Jesus yourself and ask, are you a real thing? Can you help me in my life? I want to do better. I want to be a better person. Can you help? And you'll get an answer. So that's all I could say. Um, let's see. Denise says, I believe in God the Father. I was raised Catholic. Today I call myself spiritual. Denise also says, religion is taught, spirituality finds you, in my opinion. Well, there's a famous saying that says, a religious man goes to church and thinks about going fishing, and a spiritual man goes fishing and thinks about God. And I think it's a pretty, a good way of putting it. And I also agree. Like, I can see goodness in every religion and belief system. It's all about don't hurt other people and don't hurt yourself. That's what it's about. You don't want to steal from other people. You don't want to hurt them in any way. You want to be kind and loving. That's universal. Even in the pagan religions, they believe harm none, which means yourself included. Well, if people just followed that alone, this whole world would be different. Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot says, we have talked to Jesus, Mary, and more. We do know the Romans raped the literature, so we are on the same page. And Not Visible says, thank you for your candor, Karen. Well, that's all I got. If I can't be honest with you guys, then I may as well be blowing smoke out my ass. I mean, really, what's the point? There's so much of that illusion. If I wanted to change the way I am or the way I present, I could probably have more viewers, more followers, more members to my channel, but I refuse. I refuse. I can only give you what I believe is my truth in the moment. It's all I can do, and admit that I have working theories and that they shift and they change throughout time. And yes, Denise says it really well here. Treat people the way you want to be treated, and remember to love. And Denise says, I just love you, Karen. I love you too, Denise. Thank you so much for being here, my faithful friends. You're at every single show I do. I really appreciate you so much. Some of you can't make it to every show, but you make it to quite a few. And it really means the world to me. I really look forward to these times when we spend some time together. For me, there's no difference between us sitting around my kitchen table or me doing a podcast and you showing up in the live chat. Which reminds me, before we go, I have an announcement. And my announcement is I'm going to do a giveaway in June. And to be eligible for the giveaway, I'm going to draw a name. Probably what I'm going to do is assign numbers and then throw a D20 dice and see what it comes up as. But all you have to do to be eligible for the contest is to show up and comment in the live chat. So if you're commenting in the live chat today, your name goes down. If you comment in every live chat, live chat on every show I do up until the contest, however many times you show up is how many times your name will go into a hat. And I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to be giving away, but I know it's going to be a medium-sized orgonite pyramid. from my shop. And it's going to be some stickers and I don't know, a few other things, perhaps a few other pieces of organite. If you haven't been to my shop, please do check it out and see if there's anything there that appeals to you and help to support my work. And yeah, so yeah, I'm going to have a free giveaway next month, at the end of next month. So keep coming back and giving me your comments, and I'll make sure that your names get recorded, and then we'll do a live giveaway. Now, we are teetering on a postal strike here in Canada, which may or may not happen. If it does, you may not get your stuff right away, but I will definitely mail it out to you. So tell your friends to come and join us. And let me just check one more time in the live chat before I say goodbye. Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot says either spirit leads us to your communications or we are just really lucky. Thank you. Oh my God, you are so, so kind. And Not Visible says, I'm a fan now, just found you. Thank you. Denise says, to Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot, right? And Denise says to Not Visible, so glad you're here. What a great group of people. I just love you guys so much. Thank you so much for making my day. Van Darkholm says, very cool with a smile. And Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot says, we have one of your organite in one of our Airbnb. Thanks to Angel Wings, very special to us. What goes around comes around. That is so cool. I'm so happy to hear that. So, yeah, but your name is also going to go in for my free giveaway next month. So please do tell your friends and come back and see me. Wednesday, I've got an exciting show. I've got my panel with Gary May McGill and also Ryan Patrick Burns. And we're going to be talking about the pyramids. Now, I know there's a lot of talk about the pyramids, but there's always something new comes up that we can share, and it's still going to be very interesting. 1 o'clock Mountain Time, noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday for the live. And then I'm not sure what I'm doing next week for Aliens and Angels, but it'll be something interesting. I can guarantee you that. So that's it for today, everybody. Thank you again for coming. And for those of you who are watching the replay or listening on an audio podcast, please accept my love and my appreciation. And we'll see all of you very, very soon. So take care, everybody. Have a great week. Bye-bye for now. Thank you for joining me for the Aliens and Angels podcast. Read about my true life ET contact in my book called Transdimensional Meet the New Neighbors, which is now available on Amazon worldwide. Subscribe to my YouTube, Rumble, and X channels at Karen Holton TV. The like button and leave me a comment, and please do share this podcast with your friends. Check out my website at www.KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com to see my free resources and amazing products and services. All of the links will be in the description below. As part of the Forbidden Knowledge Network, you'll also find the Quantum Guide Show with Karen Holton on all audio platforms. Until next time, keep up the good work.